Okay, awesome. So it's a little bit later in the day for you than for me, so I'm still drinking my coffee. Um, but thank you so much for joining us on your Thursday
Thanks for having me
morning.
on.
And we're so excited to hear your story and your insights. So I'm going to start with kind of a question just about you and what you do. And your company is called GOtivation. So what is GOtivation and how does it work?
What is GOtivation? It is the word motivation with the G swapped for an M, which is very clever. As you can tell, I'm not a marketing guy. But GOtivation is a chat bot, which is kind of like Siri maybe on your phone, right? Siri talks to you. Our chatbot texts you, right, and sends you images. But this chatbot helps fitness coaches connect and motivate their clients, right? And the coaches and trainers, they love it because it automates all those connection points. So they might have 50 or 500 members that they're trying to get in shape and connect with and motivate. And as you can imagine, it's really hard to stay connected to all of them. So it helps them automate that part of their business. But then what's really unique and what's cool about it is that it doesn't just talk to them. It motivates them based on their profile, based on their personality. So it helps their clients get better at being motivated and stick true to their workouts. And it takes time off of the coach's hands to go focus on, actually teaching classes and helping people with diet plans and things like that.
That is a very, very cool concept. I'm really curious as to how you profile people and are able to motivate them kind of so uniquely in relation to their individual personality.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we had a psychology PhD on the team to help with this because I am not a psychologist by trade. I know a little bit, but I'm not that smart in most things. And the kind of the technical nature of it is, as the chatbot speaks with you or a client or a member of a gym, it asks them a few questions, right? So it builds up a bit of a profile on the individual. But those questions are rooted in psychology. And they each try to understand a different piece about your kind of energy, your motivational preferences, your motivational weaknesses. And based on those responses, our algorithms can go back and figure out, hey, look, I'll give you an example for me, right?
I was just about to ask.
Yeah, I have a great sample case. So as well as I look and as put together as I am, I've got relatively crappy self-control. So I have probably dessert every single day, which is horrible for your body. So I could die early.
As a child, you would have failed the marshmallow test.
It would not have gone well. Or maybe I would have aced it, actually. It would have been the best marshmallow eater. I get distracted when I'm shooting archery on the line, right? I'll go say some stupid comment to somebody and take myself out of the game. So I got bad self-control. And it will actually pick up on that and say, wow, Dennis, your self-control sucks, man. You need some help here. And let me get you some more motivation to build that up. And I liken it to, I don't know if everybody's seen this movie, The Dark Knight, which was a really big Batman movie that came out a number of years ago. Not to be confused with the Lego Batman movie that's happening right now, which will also be an amazing movie. But there's a quote towards the end of the film, right at the end. I think it's Commissioner Gordon or Director Gordon, whatever he is at this point. He's telling his little son, he's like, what the hell's going on, Dad? Why are they chasing Batman? And he's like, look, Batman is the hero that Gotham deserves, but he's not the one they need right now. And we think of motivation like that quote, right? So there's the motivation you want, the motivation you deserve. I love kind of like underdog, gritty kind of motivation, like the comeback stories, the rising up from defeat to win, the beating the big teams when you are, my height and, have everything kind of, everyone's got a bit of an advantage on me in some sense. But I don't need that motivation, right? I like that stuff. I'm already decent at it. I need self-control motivation. So we deliver the motivation you need, like Batman might say, maybe not the motivation you deserve. And it helps to build you up there.
That's a great analogy. I love that. And it's something that I actually haven't thought a lot about, but it is really true. And even when I think about my clients, what motivates one person isn't going to have the same level of impact on another person. I'm curious for myself and for our listeners, how do we distinguish, if we don't have the PhD psychologist wingman that you have, how do we figure out what our kind of motivational needs are, or at least on a more simple level? I know that you have very sophisticated testing, but is there a question that we can ask ourselves to understand what motivation do I need? And then can you give an example, maybe using yourself for the if you need the self-control type motivation, what would you do differently to say someone that needs a different type of motivation?
Yeah. So I'll start with the pretend you have an unlimited budget and plenty of time and lots of interest in this, and then we'll work down to the everyday level. But if you really want to go big and know more about yourself, know more about kind of where you are motivational wise, personality wise, even like energies, right? Kind of drainers and drivers, things like that. I would start with something big. And I know Ama Levita has a course that's really cool. I forgot what it's called, the career
Designer.
Yeah, career designer. It's kind of the same thing. I took one a number of years ago that I still talk about. I took it with all my coworkers and my wife. It was so good, called Insights Discovery. But kind of the same thing, right? In the sense of you're learning about your personality. You're learning about where you're kind of weak, if you will. I know it sounds like a negative word, but we all have strengths and weaknesses, right? You got to be honest with yourself. And then where are your preferences? Where are your energies? Because based on those things, you need to figure out, okay, I'm probably not going to be very motivated to work out at 5 in the morning because it's just not my personality. I like to sleep in. I like comfort. I'm a very introverted type person, so I don't want to go to the gym and see a whole bunch of sweaty humans at 5 a.m. So you need to understand yourself a little bit. And those types of, your program, the other programs we're talking about, those get you there. And they make you really self-aware, and you remember it forever. You do. Like, we talk about it still to this day.
Absolutely.
So that's the big way to do it, right? Smaller ways to do it. We talked about GOtivation. It's 10 questions, but it gets you thinking, right? It really gets you prompting yourself to say, you know what happens when I come upon an obstacle, or like I fall off the wagon, or I get injured? Do I get back up pretty quick? Do I kind of whine about it and take a while?
So, can anyone do those questions, or is it specific to your clients' members?
So early, while we were doing the prototype, anyone could do it. We had it open to the public to learn and get people encouraged and obviously develop our tool as well. Right now it's open just to the clients of coaches, but we do write blog articles and we do put out some content on our Facebook page that talks about some of these same topics. Okay. So hey, hard work and conscientiousness. Think about yourself in terms of that. Do you want to get up and work every day, whether that's your job or your family or your hobbies? Or do you find yourself saying, I wish I could be on vacation 5 days this week? Some people love the hard work and they take pride in it. Others like other things. And those types of questions, whether it's, again, on Facebook or just looking for those online, they help you be honest with yourself and assess yourself a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, so if our listeners want to kind of subscribe to your blog or get some more of that, where can they find that?
Yeah, so we post our articles in 2 places. So first, our website, which is GOtivation.co, right? And the second one is on Medium. I've got a channel on Medium. If you have ever used that to read articles or follow some of your favorite authors like me and my 2 articles, you can go check that out there. But we talk a lot about motivation. We talk about fitness and other nerdy stuff that comes up off the top of my head.
Well, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to go check that all out because I find it such an interesting topic. And I'm curious, what made you want to start GOtivation?
It's a long time coming, right? So I guess the root of it is I always wanted to start a business. Even in high school, I was interested in becoming an entrepreneur and starting my own business. And it took this point in my life. A lot of things had to align in my life, with my family, with my job, with my confidence, right? All those things had to align to start this. And the other part of it is, well, why is GOtivation focused? So that's starting the business, right? But why is it focused on, motivational quotes and content? And that really has to do with my fitness and athletic dream, which is a little bit of a story, but fun nonetheless. So I had a quarter-life crisis at age 27, which is a couple of years late, I think, but close enough. And I said, look, I'm not like Nicole, right? So Nicole is the CEO of Ama Levita, and we worked together for a number of years. We were in the same industry, and we felt really what we were doing was spending all of our time working. And I loved the people I worked with. The experience was unbelievable. Pay was respectable. Um, but you were giving all of your time towards someone else's goal, someone else's dream. And I said, screw it. It's time for me to figure out my own dream. And I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I've always wanted to go to the Olympics. Just didn't know how. So I did what every very passionate, dedicated Olympian did, and I went to Wikipedia and I looked up all the sports in the Olympics, and I slowly eliminated them one by one until I figured out what I could do at age 27 with my budget, with my family, and my career, and had enough longevity to potentially be successful at. And archery won. Archery won the lottery there, so to speak. So very flash forward a number of years, I walked into an archery shop and I said, I want to shoot archery, I want to go to the Olympics. And they said, you're ridiculous, but we'll sell you some equipment. And it somehow, against all odds, I was okay at it. In 3 years, I had a national ranking. In 4 years, I had a world ranking. I was ranked 200th in the world. And then, yeah, it was crazy. Like, I'm not, I'm very average at most sports, but I like them and I dedicate myself to them. So it worked out well. And the Olympic trials came around. So I tried out for the U.S. Olympic team in 2015, and I was ready, right? I don't think I was going to be anywhere in the top 5 or 10, but I was ready to make the cut. I was shooting well. I was ready to do it, and I had a totally mediocre day. And mediocre does not get you into the Olympics. And I got cut in the first round, and it sucked. It sucked. For someone like me, right, I've been working out since I was 15 years old. I exercise almost every day. I didn't do anything for the better part of like 2 months. No practice, no lifting weights, nothing. I didn't want to look at anything. I was moping around, being a real asshole to myself and probably everybody else. And then, of all places, this Under Armour commercial popped up. And it was Michael Phelps, the world's greatest swimmer. Maybe Katie Ledecky is now, I'm not sure. But at the time, Michael Phelps, world's greatest swimmer. And he was training to make it back to the 2016 Olympics after his amazing high in 2012. And this commercial just like gave me chills, right? I'm like, what is this? I want to go right to the Olympics right now. And I got out of bed, I remember, for the first time at 5 a.m. because I don't wake up early. You gotta sleep, guys. You gotta sleep. And I practiced in my garage all winter long at 5 a.m. in the morning, which is cold and damp and dark and depressing because archery is not always super exciting. But this motivation did that for me. It got me back on my feet. And that circle all the way back now to the question is, I want motivation to be easier for people. I want that motivation to have been there 6 months ago or 2 months ago, right when I first got down. Who knows where I'd be right now if I had that strong motivation and that consistent reach that really connected with me. So GOtivation is here to help do that to everybody else. We'll see if we can pull it off.
Wow, what a powerful story. I got chills just listening to it. I think that's so cool. And actually, just a couple of days ago, I wrote a blog post. I think it was, I called it, I challenge you to try this new diet. But basically, the post was about, we're so conscious of what we put in our bodies. And I'm all for that. Like, I try and eat organic, I try to eat healthy, clean. And I exercise, we're so conscious of exercising and eating well and diets and all that kind of thing. But how often do we control what we put in our mind? How particular are we about the food that we feed our mind and our soul? And that has just as big an impact on our health as does the food we put in our body. But yet we're like watching Kardashians and horrible news stories and looking through social media and, like I'm on Facebook and Insta, and if you use it in the right way, it can be really powerful and inspirational, but it can also make you feel really shit about your life if you use it in the wrong way. So absolutely. I think that, if we could just be as conscious about what we kind of read and what we listen to as we are about what we eat, I think it would really change our world.
Yeah, I couldn't say that any better than you just did, and I learned it the hard way. through archery, thankfully, right? It's something that I needed in my life, and I learned it through archery. But I had terrible self-talk. Self-talk is basically that little voice in your head that's saying, hey, Katie, you're cool as hell. This interview's going amazing. Everyone's going to have a good time watching it, right? That's positive self-talk. Negative self-talk, which goes through most people's heads, myself included, is, I don't know if this is going well. Oh, no, I just said the wrong word. I totally forgot my line. Do I look okay? I don't know what's going to happen later today. That kind of stuff, it seems innocent, right? And it's built in your head through an evolutionary protection, so you don't do totally stupid stuff. But in modern times, that self-talk doesn't help you. It's not protecting you from, getting the Black Death. It's not protecting you from going out in public and making a fool of yourself, being, ostracized from your community. That doesn't happen anymore. But that talk is still there. And I've read a number of books really about mental health, about mental strength and mental strongness. I quote a couple things in some articles that I've written from With Winning in Mind, which is a really good book written 30 years ago at this point by an Olympic gold medalist in rifle shooting called Lanny Bassam. And he talks a lot about mental training and how you talk more positive to yourself. How do you motivate and encourage yourself, right? All the things that, you know what, you could have this amazing goal, but if you beat yourself up along the way and you don't have a strong mind, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like your body will follow your mind. So you really got to take care of it.
100%. And, they say that you become the product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And often when we think about that, and it's usually maybe like your spouse or your best friend or maybe your colleague or boss at work. But to be honest, the person that you're going to have the most conversations with in your life is yourself. You and that voice in your head.
Me.
Yeah. So you and that voice in your head. So you want to be really careful about what that conversation looks like, because that's going to shape your life profoundly.
You can literally make the difference between winning a gold medal and failing by just having one negative thought in your mind. It's that sensitive at the upper echelon. It's not where I'm at, but at the upper echelon. So just think about what you're doing if you're beating yourself up every day, what that does over the course of the life.
Absolutely. And, I have a lot of things that I want to ask you, but I just want to, before I get to them, there's a lot of good material here. I just want to hone in early on when I asked you about what made you want to start GOtivation, and you spoke about things needing to line up, which is obviously true for anyone starting a business or making a big transition. And, we have a lot of clients and listeners that either are wanting to start a business or are going through a significant career transition. And one thing that you spoke about was confidence. And I think that that's a huge thing when it comes to either, even if there are so many people out there that feel so unfulfilled in their jobs, but it's so hard to actually have that courage to go, you know what, I'm going to find something better for myself. Or if they want to start a business, to find that courage to believe that they have what it takes to do that. So how do you find that confidence and courage in your life?
It's a snowball effect, at least the way I've looked at it, right? The ways I've experienced in my life. I didn't have the courage to start a business, 15 years ago at this point, right? And maybe that's for the best, because I've learned so much. I have, stability financially, almost. I've got the education. I've got a professional career and a network behind me now that makes things way easier. But at the same time, let's just call it like it was. I was a coward 15 years ago, and probably 5 more times between them. I have 3 or 4 other business plans, which are really terrible formatting, by the way, but they're sitting on the shelf right now from all those failed attempts, right? The chicken out, the get up to the high dive, and then turn back down and go down the ladder. But I needed confidence, right, through at little things. I think all the way back to college, where I started a club. That was ridiculous, but we were a heckling club. And it sounds really stupid, but me and a couple of my buddies co-founded this club, and we learned how to manage a club and how to brand things and how to market things. You get more confident because people join your club, right? And then outside of school, traveling when I became a consultant and getting in front of people 20 or 30 years older than you that hate everything about you, but being confident enough to present, to talk to them, to give advice, even if they didn't want to hear it. And then finally through archery, right? Archery was the kind of the icing on the cake there that said, look, if I can be courageous enough to go step on the line with Olympians and world champions, probably get my ass kicked, let's be honest. Even if I look significantly better than them, I'm still losing to them. It builds up your confidence, right? It gives you that that ability to say, wow, you know what? I'm not going to get hurt. Even if I try this and I fail or I have a rough time, I'll be fine. Let's go do it.
So it's really just about consistently putting yourself out there. And even when it feels really, really bloody scary, to just keep putting yourself out there, because the more you do it, you know, the first time you speak in front of a big crowd, you're probably going to be like shattering inside, you know, and then the next time maybe you'll just have butterflies, and then the time after that, you know, maybe you still have a bit of sweats, and then the time after that, maybe you'll like, you know, just be fully present and really loving it. You know, I think everyone still gets a little bit nervous in those situations.
Oh, yeah.
The more you put yourself out there, the more you realize, as you said, well, I'm not going to die, and what's the worst possible thing that could happen?
Yep, I'm with you there. And the fear never goes away, right? You never, I haven't listened to this yet, but I saw a headline the other day that it said, be fear space less. Not fearless, right? Because there's always fear and anxiety and nerves, but learn how to control it, learn that it's not as big of a deal, and then you almost ride that high when your anxiety goes up and you know you get the endorphins pumping and your adrenaline's up. You get excited for it, even though you're a little bit scared.
Absolutely. And I think kind of like what you said about the self-talk, that there's actually the same with fear. There's a biological reason why we feel fear, and it's to protect us. It's to protect us from, and there's some fear that is very valid. You know, there's
it's a good thing, yeah. We're alive.
There's a lot that isn't, you know, and it's really, you know, distinguishing. And I went to a great event with this great guest speaker the other week, and he spoke about the difference between fear and recklessness. So like recklessness isn't good, you know, but if you just have a little bit of fear, but it's something that, you know, isn't going to put your life on the line, or that, you know, is actually going to potentially have really positive outcomes, to just keep putting yourself out there. And to, as scary as that is, I think it becomes a mental habit, the ability to do so.
Make yourself uncomfortable every day, just a little bit, just a little bit, and you'll really feel the reward. Just a little bit.
Wonderful. So I'd love to ask a little bit about why have you seen, and do you think from your research and maybe your PhD,
I don't have the PhD.
Had some insights on this, but where do people fall down when it comes to staying motivated, and why does this happen? And also, what are some tips that for our listeners to really pick themselves back up when they're falling down?
For sure. The sad truth is people fall down before they even begin, and they don't know it, right? They don't realize that they're setting themselves up to fail against their goal. And fail is not even the right word, but just not get the results they want, right? They're setting themselves up to make it really difficult. And that starts with a goal. It starts with the goal. And it sounds cliche, but that's really what it is. I talked about Lanny Basham, that Olympic gold medalist, and he talks about a term that I think is really important. It's called the pay value. I don't think that's a trademarked term, but, you know, he came up with it. So a pay value is basically saying, is the prize worth the cost? Is the juice worth the squeeze, right? And a great example. So if you want to participate in your first 5K, your first race, right? But you hate running long distances. Really simple. Guess what? That participation medal at the end of the 5K, that little satisfaction of crossing the finish line, is not worth the cost to you. You're going to hate it every day. You're going to try to motivate yourself, but there's not going to be anything in the world that's going to get you excited about it. So you're not going to finish your training, and you'll probably either drop out of the race or quit beforehand or make up an excuse like most of us do. I think a career really has the same issue, right? So a lot of people, you work with hundreds of people that are in that boat. The ones that you don't work with are the ones that are complaining and talking about how bad their job is, and their coworkers suck, and the commute is bad, stressful to find a new job, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? And they've already told themselves the cost of getting a new job or a new career or going into your own business is not worth the benefit to them. They've already rationalized that scale, and they're saying, no, you can motivate the hell out of me, but I already quantified that it's not worth it. So that's one thing, right? We have to make sure that we understand the pay value and that we make the reward big enough. And sometimes it just, unfortunately, takes time to get to that big enough reward.
Do you think that sometimes people miscalculate the pay value in their mind? So, for example, the person complaining their career that you just spoke about, in their mind, the pay value interview might not be worth it, or they've calculated, well, it's just not worth it to go find another, go do up my resume, go to interviews, go find another job. But, no doubt that if they do find a career that's more fulfilling, they're going to have a much fuller and richer and more meaningful life. So having been in that situation, I can tell you 100% it's going to be worth it. But that's not what they calculated. So do we ever in our minds miscalculate what is worth it and what isn't worth it?
Yeah, we miscalculate both parts, right? Some people, and everybody does it different ways, right? Maybe it's an optimist versus pessimist type thing. I don't know exactly the science behind it. Some people go, the grass is always greener. I've been at this job for 6 months. Get me out of here. I'm going to have an amazing career. And then guess where they are 6 months later?
Back in that job.
Doing the same thing, doing the same search and moving on. And other people under or overestimate the pay value, right? Wow, it's going to be incredibly difficult to go do a resume and then to have to go interview. I'm so nervous. I'm going to have to go buy a dress or a suit now. Every little excuse they can throw out there, they add to this pay value, and they grossly underestimate what it's worth to them, how amazing they'll feel every day, the new things they'll learn, the new network they have. Maybe their commute's better, like all those little things, right? So we all suck at it.
Find the sweet spot. I mean, that's the $1 million question. Right? But how do we, if we're overestimating or underestimating, is it a matter of working with a coach or someone objectively? Like, how do we, figure out, well, actually, I'm overthinking this, and this will be worth more than I believe it is, or this actually might not end up as good as I'm thinking it might be. How do we do that?
You nailed it, right? It could be a coach. It could be someone that's been through it. You have to find someone that you trust, and they've been through that experience. Right? That's the only way to know, because they can go back and look and say, I thought these things, but it actually turned out this way. And if it's a coach that you believe in and a coach that's working with you that knows you well, or it's a colleague or a friend that you trust and you can understand where they're coming from, now all of a sudden you've got an objective point of view on it. Like, oh, wow, you've actually done it. It's not just something I'm making up in my mind. Okay, I could buy that.
Absolutely. So that's a really great point. And kind of coming back to this, as you said, a lot of when I asked the question, why do people fall down when it comes to motivation? And as you said, a lot of people fall down before they even get started. So I think, from what you were saying, one of the big things is like connecting with, if you're not, if you don't like long distances, then you're not going to be motivated to do the 5K. So does it come down to helping people connect with something that they're going to be passionate about and they actually want to do, and find the why behind the project?
Yeah, there's a ton of psychology behind the two things you just said, and Amlavita talks about it all the time, right? It's kind of that intersection of passion and skill and opportunity. You guys know it, and you know it well from a career standpoint, but it also works in fitness. So starting with something you enjoy makes it significantly more likely that you're going to stick with it. And I know there's going to be all those digital eye rolls out there like, oh, I hate all sports. I hate anything where I move my body. Shut up. No, you don't. I've tried so much crazy stuff being in GOtivation, right? From just in athletics over the years to GOtivation. I go to different gyms. I go meet different fitness coaches. And I try whatever they're doing, from archery to Nia. I didn't even know what Nia was, but it's awesome. I tried it. I've tried boxing, I've tried swimming, and I couldn't swim. I almost died. And everything in between, right? Roller hockey, beach volleyball. There's pistol shooting. There's something for every human being out there. Even if you're an introvert, even if you're an extrovert, even if you're lazy, even if you're a hard worker, there's something you can find that you're going to like. So that's the key. Set yourself up with something you like and look around, spend a little extra time doing that, and your likelihood of sticking to it's going to be huge. Mm-hmm. Just keep looking.
Absolutely. I've seen that firsthand in my own life, and with a lot of my clients as well. So you couldn't have said it better.
I probably angered a lot of people there that like lawn darts or bowling, but you can do those too. There's some movement, I guess.
I love that. As you know, our theme this month is Healthy Body, Healthy Mind, as I mentioned earlier on. And, obviously we've spoken about that mind-body connection, and it's so powerful. I'm curious in how do you believe and how do you see that exercise and living healthy can impact personal and professional performance?
I'll give you the simple answer because you guys actually posted this just the other day. So Carrie Walsh, who was one of my heroes, along with Misty May Trainer. Misty May, if you're out there, still love for you, plenty of love for you. But they're Olympic beach volleyball champions, 3-time champions. And she had a quote that you put up that said, "If my mind isn't there, my body is not going to perform." I can't say it any more eloquently or concisely, so I won't even try. She nailed it.
Yeah.
That's athletic-wise, right? That's kind of physical-wise. But I see it even in the office. I see it even in my entrepreneurship. I see it in people I work with in other companies, suppliers, partners, whatever it might be. Try this. So, I mean, you've got a small office, and you can look around. You've got a lot of probably healthy, athletic people. But if you're at a bigger company, if you work for a big corporation, don't be creepy. Don't be creepy. We'll start with that. But start to observe your coworkers that are in better shape. Look for the ones that always have, a 32-ounce bottle of water on them. They take the stairs in between meetings. They don't take one flight. They don't take the elevator for one story either way. They're alert. They're active. Maybe they go to the gym over lunch. Watch those people. They literally run circles around some of their colleagues. They are alert and present in meetings, right? They have an attention span. They're not crashing at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock because they ate a 1,500 calorie lunch with all sorts of crap, right? They re-energize themselves throughout the day. I know people, this is frowned upon in the US, which is stupid, but I know people that do take 15 or 20-minute power naps right in the middle of the afternoon because they're dead, they're worn out. So you could spend 3 more hours being useless, but looking like you're working at your desk, or you could take a 15-minute nap and then go kick ass the rest of the day, if you can get over that stigma, of course. But watch those people and see what they're doing different and see how they're acting different, because I promise you there is that dichotomy in your office. They are dominating their careers.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. I think that I definitely, when I did work in the, as you were talking, I was kind of thinking back to when I was working in the bigger corporate companies, and 100% what you said is so accurate. And I love that. I often, when I work with my clients, the idea of just mindfulness and observing around you, and you can see it firsthand all around you. So it's pretty powerful and it's pretty crazy. And I also love the idea of listening to your body and listening to your energy. And I know that not everyone has the liberty to, I mean, when you run your own business, obviously, if you want, you can take a nap or go for a run whenever you want. And I know that that's more difficult for some people. But even in a, less black and white way of having to leave the office or not leave the office, just listening to your physical and mental energy. I mean, there are times throughout the day where you have a lot of creative mental energy. That's when you do the creative things, like the blog post, like if you're a writer or if you need to build a creative presentation or whatever it might be. And then there are days where you might have a bit more physical energy, but really lacking in mental energy, right? And, if you can take a walk, that's really going to serve you well, but to do the less mentally strenuous things. So maybe you're responding to emails or things. So just listening to ebbs and flows of your mental and physical energy and, adjusting your workday around them.
Do you know anything about a program called the Bulletproof Musician?
No, I don't. Tell me more.
It's fascinating. I took this course, which is probably an amalgamation of a lot of other things, but I took this course. It's kind of a mental strength course for musicians. In archery, and other sports, you're pulling a string back, so it's not that different. I'm probably playing a harp. Yeah, get a banjo, get a harp going, whatever. Yeah, I could go move to the bayou now. But it's not that different, right? The mentality of a top-tier musician, of a concert-level, pianist or vocalist, whoever it might be, is the same mentality of a lot of athletes. But they talked in there. There's a really cool worksheet they had about your energy throughout the day. And they actually have you document it because they're trying to figure out, when is the right time of the day for you to be practicing. If you're forcing it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you are exhausted, bad idea. If you're asleep at 9 o'clock and you're trying to practice, bad idea. Oh, wait, no, 7 o'clock you find you're really alert before the dinner, hits you and you fall asleep, or at 6:30 in the morning, okay, maybe you should start focusing your practice time there. And you can do the same thing with creativity, right? Mm-hmm. In the morning, I'm more creative and alert like you. In the afternoon, if you ask me to write a blog post, you might as well just staple me to the wall because I'm not going to get anything done for 3 hours. A waste of time.
I'm 100% like you, and I actually try not to schedule any clients or too many meetings in the early morning because that's when I have all my mental. I made an exception for you, of course.
You're such a sweetheart. It's unbelievable.
But that's when I have all my mental energy. So that's
we'll edit that out. Don't worry.
Get up and do the blog posts and build anything towards the program and do all the creative things. Then in the afternoon, I have physical energy and personality, but mentally, I'm not going to be able to write a blog post or do anything like that. So I think it's really important, kind of coming back to that observing thing. So 2 things to observe. 1, observe the people in the office with the different, physical well-being levels and how they perform. 2, observe yourself and start paying attention to those highs and lows in your physical and mental energy and try structuring your day to the extent that you can. Obviously, you can't start turning down your boss's meetings, but start structuring your day to the extent that you can.
Don't you tell Nicole that. She won't listen to that part. Don't worry. We're good.
But yeah, I think that's awesome. Now, I'd love to just ask you personally, how do you, I know you've got a family, you run a business, you've got your archery. How do you find the time to really stay fit, to succeed at work, to, balance the family and have a life socially and everything else around that?
Well, there's always trade-offs. So they don't all happen at the same time in the same level. But, I mean, I'd be stupid if I didn't start off and thank my family, right? My wife, my little guy. The reality is they give me the flexibility to do this, right? You have to have support. And I've got dozens of other people that have supported me in my business, whether it's thinking through things or their time or their expertise. But the bottom line is if I wasn't, stable with my family or stable financially or emotionally, none of this would work. And, who knows if it works anyways, right? That life changes a lot of different ways. But I've got that awesome base from my wife and my family to support me through this. So my goals, my activities suck up a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to someone this weekend at an archery tournament. I'm like, it's challenging for me to get to more tournaments and to do more things. I feel like I'm being really selfish when I spend my weekend shooting a tournament. And they're like, yeah, top athletes and top performers in any field are really selfish people. And you got to be careful about that, right? Because if you keep taking and taking and taking and taking, you're going to lose all the things that got you there. You're going to lose that family. You're going to lose that stability. You're going to lose your friends and your network and all that stuff. So you got to pay it back and you got to find balance. I've been unbalanced before, and it's a shitty place to be in. You don't want to stay there too long. But after that, so after you got a foundation, it's going to sound really unsexy, but it's time management. Mm-hmm. So I make the most of my work hours throughout the day, right? I make the most of my commute, which isn't that long, but I'll listen to podcasts to try to learn something new. Mm-hmm. I'll listen to music, get me pumped up before a workout or practice, so I'm ready, I can jump right in. I work hard throughout the day, as long as I know what I'm doing. Some days are mildly ambiguous as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And when I get home, it's family time, right? Those hours are family time. I pick up my little dude, Roman. We go have fun. We play games. We do ridiculous things, hang out with my wife. We talk about what's going on. And then once that's done, when the little guy goes to sleep, workout time, right? It's gym time. It's practice time. It's reading before bed. It's domestic-y stuff that needs to get done. And then I try, when I remember, to meditate at least a couple of times a week, ideally before bedtime. And that's, you build that schedule in, you fit it all in, you get it done, manage your time. If you don't do that, none of it's going to get done.
Dennis, I'm going to pull you up because earlier on in this call, you told me that you did not have a lot of self-control. And when I listen to your day, you have a lot of self-control. You get a lot in there.
It's a different self-control that I lack. It's very inappropriate self-control. But time management-wise, got it down.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome, and it sounds like you were just super. I think it really comes down to intention, like setting your intentions for not just the day. I think that's important, but for each block of the day, like being really intentional. How I'm gonna, and like we spoke about earlier, like what are you feeding your mind? Like on your commute, you could just scroll up and down like Facebook or whatever, but it's like, no, I'm going to listen to a really empowering podcast. Or I'm going to listen to some music that's going to pump me up for the day ahead, right? And then when you get home, I'm not going to complain about the day I had or the meeting I had. I'm going to be there for my little guy, right? And I'm going to like play with him and sit with my wife and hear about her day. So I think it's just being really intentional and deciding who's going to show up in each aspect of your life.
Yeah. This is a really simple tip, but if you haven't done this with your family or your friends, whoever else, if you don't have a shared calendar, I would get one. Use, Evernote or Google Calendar, iCal, whatever it is. All the other things we do, right? Because I still want to see my buddies. I still want to have fun. I want to go do ridiculous stuff. I want to go travel at times, to vacation. If you get it on a calendar, it's going to happen, right? If you book it on the calendar and everybody sees it's there, that event's happening. There's no doubt about it. If you talk about it or you're just throwing it out in the wind and you don't schedule it, I'm probably 95% sure it's not happening these days.
100%.
So,
talking about things and the idea of things is wonderful, but it all kind of amounts to nothing if you're not going to actually put it into action and do something about it. That's a really, really great tip and also a great segue. I want to, first of all, thank you for, I got so much out of this call, and I have no doubt that everyone listening is going to get just as much as I did, if not more, out of this. So honestly, it's been such an honor and such a pleasure. And I would love to if you were to leave me and our listeners with kind of your great, and no, I don't want to put too much pressure on this, but your biggest kind of tip or takeaway when it comes to motivation, when they finish this podcast or listening today, what is one thing that's really going to help them with their motivation that they should really start doing?
I'll break it up into two pieces because the mind and body are connected, but there's different ways to motivate each. And I liked what we talked about earlier for the physical aspect, right? Find something you like. Just take. You can do the stupid way I did it, right? I'm sure there's smarter ways, but go to Wikipedia and look at all the different sports out there, right? Talk to a fitness coach and ask them, what are all the different programs I can take? There's thousands online, so go look for those. And then lastly, for the mental piece, take breaks, take pauses out of your day, take pauses out of your month or your year, because you're working incredibly hard. You are putting all your effort into your job and your family. You got to stop and celebrate and recharge that motivation every once in a while. And, me and my family would take vacations to do that. We go out with our buddies and we'll celebrate and get stupid and do fun things just to get out of that environment and feel energized again. And the other benefit to that people forget about is not just taking a break gets you out of work. You come back with all these new ideas, all this new inspiration and motivation. A vacation introduces you to a new place and new experiences, right? A drunken party gets you to converse with 50 people you haven't talked to in 3 months. And there's ideas and there's motivation bouncing all over. So you get back and you are ready to go try those things. So it's worth stopping. We're stopping every once in a while.
They're amazing tips, and I'm definitely going to take them on board as well. Dennis, thank you so much. This has been absolutely awesome, and let's do it again. Let's do it again.
I love it. Best of luck with everything. Keep up the great work at ALV.
Thank you, Dennis. And everyone, go check out the website, GOtivation.co. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah.